Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. We are going to learn a lot today when it comes to cannabis, THC, CBD, how it can support you, how it can change your life. And I'm very gratified to talk with somebody from the first and only certified living wage recreational cannabis dispensary in Canada's capital. These are employees that have a passion for helping people. And the company that I'm talking about is goodnaturedcannabis.ca truly cares about their employees as well as their customers. And from that company, hooking up with Mike today. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
So good, so good. Thanks again so much for having me on, and I'm so excited to dig in here.
Yeah, lots to learn. I believe there are a lot of misconceptions as to what THC and CBD can do and how it can support you. And there's always new things coming along with CBD, like CBN, or I think I'm saying that right. Is that right, CBN?
Yep. You are 100% right, and definitely since the legalization of cannabis, there's new cannabinoids that are sort of being concentrated on and added to. So, it's a brave new world when it comes to combinations of cannabinoids. And like you were mentioning, CBN is a big one. There is a lot of interest in finding a product that is going to help you get some sleep. Not only fall asleep, but stay asleep. That is another real big issue. Yeah, we have these things that will help us fall asleep, but getting a good night's rest is a big problem for a lot of people, and CBN has definitely been a godsend for some of those people in that regard. Also, a new sort of cannabinoid. I mean, a cannabinoid has always been in cannabis, but a new one that's sort of been isolated is CBG. And that is very popular pairing with CBD. Because the thing with CBD is, if you have pain, especially due to swelling or inflammation, CBD can really, really be effective for helping pain due to that. So CBG is basically an amplifier. So when CBD is paired with CBG, it almost makes it super CBD, right? And taking CBD traditionally, it's not like an aspirin where if you take it, it sort of relieves your pain right away. It's something that sort of has to build up in your body. But with the addition of a cannabinoid like CBG that has those amplification effects, that result can be achieved much quicker and much faster.
Why don't we focus on sleep? Such a challenge for a lot of people. Some gravitate towards CBD, works for them. Some take medications, which I try to not go down that road and do something more holistically like CBD. But what would you suggest? Let's start with somebody who has trouble falling asleep and then work our way to somebody who can't stay asleep. What would you suggest they use?
So definitely a CBD, CBN combination. I would also say if they're not objectable to it, I would also recommend probably a THC element, leaning more towards the indica side of things. And really within those three cannabinoids, for falling asleep, for staying asleep, you're going to want to just adjust those ratios, because what works for you personally is going to be very, very, very unique to you. The answer to my cannabis needs are going to be very different from the next person, right? So you really want to be able to tweak those ratios in small increments to find something that not only is going to help you fall asleep, but also get into that REM sleep where you're really getting restful, meaningful sleep. The other thing about CBN is in the morning, like if you take it at let's say 10:30 at night, in the morning you're not going to feel groggy. There's not a when you wake up, it needs to wear off. It's not a product like that. It leaves you pretty snappy in the morning. That's for sure.
That's a really great point, because I've heard that, tried that, where you get a good night's sleep, but you're just like, it takes you like 2 hours to get rolling again first thing in the morning,
Yeah, and the very I feel like that's a stigma with cannabis users that's sort of as old as time, right? This sort of thing where it's sort of hard to get up and go, right? But these products are definitely designed for sort of on the go people, right? It's not something that is going to affect your next day, which you're trying to get a good night's sleep. You're trying to get some rest. You're trying to alleviate some of the things that are causing you pain. There shouldn't be a price to pay for that the next day, right? And I feel like that's what that's a point that really needs to be driven home to people. Is especially in the right ratios. The next day effects are none, right? There's no hangover like say
Sure.
with alcohol, where you're waking up and you're thinking, oh my God, I wish I didn't do that last night. It's not a feeling like that at all.
So how do you decide? And I forget what it's called. Go slow and go low. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Low and slow is always the way, because very much, especially with edibles or things you're consuming or taking sublingually, which is placing it under your tongue and letting it absorb through your saliva glands. When you are introducing cannabinoids to your body in that form, it really it's not like smoking a joint, right? If you were smoking a joint and you all of a sudden you feel, oh, I'm a little bit too high, well, you can stop. You can put it out. Come back to it later. Edibles are not like that. Once you've taken it, you've taken it. So what I would say to someone who is especially someone who is new to cannabis and you don't know how it's going to affect you, take a very small amount. Don't rush before you take the next small amount. Give yourself 45 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes for that to really kick in. Because one of the worst feelings, I think, is you take some edibles and then you wait 30 minutes and you think, oh, they're not doing anything to me. And then you take a bunch more, and then all of a sudden the effect is way too strong. That's not something that we're trying to promote, or something that we're that we want people to experience. We want people to have a positive experience with cannabis, right? And overdoing it, in your first couple times trying edibles is a way, I think, to really turn you off, right? So I would say for someone who's never, someone who's sort of new to it and never had a cannabis edible before, I would want to start with maybe like 1 milligram of THC.
Wow.
Take it.
Okay.
See how it affects you. Because this is the thing. If you have never consumed cannabis, like a small amount might be very, very strong for you. So, and that's the thing. Everyone is so different. Now, when I consume cannabis, I mean the sky is the limit. I'm really I'm really trying to amp it up. But for a new user, you really want to start low and slow and see how it is going to affect you. Also, this is another thing I hear people come in and say all the time. These people who are very outgoing, get up and go type people, they'll come in and they'll sort of ask the difference between indica and sativa, right? Indica kind of puts you in the couch, and sativa is kind of get up and go, turn on your favorite album and sing along to it, right? And because those people are already sort of like that, they're very interested in sativa products. Now, the thing is, if you're already a sort of get up and go person, a sativa edible or a sativa joint is not going to make you more like that. it's probably going to introduce some paranoia to your life, or make you feel uneasy, or make you feel like something's wrong when nothing is actually wrong, right? So the high THC sort of high limonene sativa weed, if you're already a real outgoing person, is not going to make you more of an outgoing person, right? I feel like that's a real common misconception,
Gotcha.
with the indica sativa thing, right?
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about that. Just busting some of the myths here along the way. Now, some products contain THC and CBD. Why is that? Why isn't it just not straight out, let's say just THC?
Well, CBD has a calming effect as well, which some cannabis users, they really like the combination of the two. Also, from a pain relief aspect, CBD takes care of some pain, and THC sort of takes care of the other sort of realms of pain, right? So the mixture of those two, it really tends to be a good mix for people in pain. The one thing I will say, if you're taking a CBD THC product, not in the realm of wellness, more on the recreation side to, I'm doing air quotes here, to get high. CBD is going to significantly cut down the euphoric effects of cannabis as well, right? So if you're taking a 1-to-1 CBD to THC gummy, let's say, well, you're definitely taking 10 milligrams of THC, but the effectiveness of that 10 milligrams in the realm of having a euphoric effect, the CBD is probably going to cut that in half, let's say, right? While it is definitely something to take, to sort of relax and have like a mellow time. I wouldn't say a THC CBD thing is something to necessarily get high. I would say that's way more of a wellness-based product, right? So I would say, the CBD THC sort of mix is definitely a pain, like a pain wellness kind of thing. And now with the introduction of CBG to some of those mixtures, right? Like you'll have a 1-to-1 of 10 milligrams THC, 10 milligrams CBD, and there's some companies that are putting 40 milligrams of CBG in. So a gummy that has, the regular sort of 10 to 10 and then 40 milligrams of CBG, that is going to amplify the effects of that gummy or that pill or that sublingual. That is going to amplify the effects of that significantly.
So I heard a long time ago that if somebody, let's say, took too much THC and had an unfavorable experience, maybe some anxiety, they're kind of freaking out a little bit because they overdid it, that you can get back to center, if you will, if you take CBD.
Yeah, because CBD is going to drastically cut down the effects of that THC, right? So yeah, and so this is the thing. If you take way too much of an indica-based cannabis product, you're not going to freak out and be uneasy. You're going to fall asleep, right? Now, what you're describing is definitely like a sativa, like you've overdone it with a sativa, right? And yeah, what that is definitely a truism. What you're saying, CBD, if you were to start to ingest it would the come down would happen at a much more much more quicker rate and a much more rapid rate. So that is a good trick, but the time is the best medicine, for a lot of things,
Gotcha. So we talked about the sleep side of things. Anything to add to that we should let everybody know, maybe a myth or anything there before we move to another topic?
Well, I think it's really important to understand with cannabis sleep aids, there are products available out there that are not for getting high. You're not going to take it, and it's not going to make you high or loopy or do things that you wouldn't normally do or act out. It is totally a wellness-based product that is designed for people who want sleep, that just don't want a pharmaceutical answer.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to talk about the dispensary that you guys have and the fact that it is the first and the only that's certified, and it's paying their employees living wage numbers as opposed to minimum wage. There's
That's right.
No other recreational cannabis dispensary in the area. Canada's capital is doing that. We talked about it the first time we got together with Clay from your company. And I just want to go back over that real quick, what living wage means. And coming from you, now he's the owner, founder, coming from you, somebody that works with him, what does that mean to you and all the other employees there at Good Nature?
Well, I'm going to say a few things about Clay that I'm sure Clay would never, ever say about himself. But I don't think I've ever been as inspired working with someone as I have been working alongside Clay. At the beginning of cannabis legalization, every single person that opened up a cannabis dispensary had the choice to do it the right way. Working at a cannabis dispensary was never supposed to be a bad job. It was never supposed to be a minimum wage job. And when the corporate guys came in and took over and came in with multiple stores, the very first thing is they made it a minimum wage job, and it is exactly the wrong mentality to have. Because what I see every day at our dispensary is I see a bunch of people who are so happy to be working here and earning a living, doing something that they're passionate about and that they love. They build relationships with customers because they see them on an almost daily basis. They'll know what the customer is going to order before they even say it. Almost every customer that comes into this store is on a first-name basis with at least one staff member, if not all of them, right? And so just to see someone whose vision was that at the beginning, to have a living wage certified store where where the people stay and can actually afford to live, and they don't have to work a second job. It is inspiring, and the proof is in the pudding, because the corporate guys, they want to make cannabis alcohol. They want to make cannabis groceries. That will never be. Cannabis will never be those things. And as long as those corporate guys are using that model in their stores will never succeed. And there is not very many industries where it's like that. And we're seeing that swap happen right now, where there's more independent stores than there is these big corporate stores. Because frankly, the big corporate stores suck. They don't have any of the craft cannabis. They don't have any of these really, really hard to find cultivars, because it's some bigwig sitting somewhere who is hitting reorder every week. He's not looking at the new cannabis drops and he's so hyped on them because he wants to try them. There is no faking the passion in cannabis. There is no faking the funk in cannabis, so to speak. And if you are doing that and you are about that, even if you're really, really, really good at it, you're going to be found out eventually, because you can't pull the wool over the eyes. You're talking about an industry that existed underground for years, decades and decades and decades and decades. All the heads, they know how this is supposed to be, right? Some corporate guy is not going to come in and change the face and the way cannabis is distributed or sold, right? As much as they want to, they're just not going to be able to do it, right? And so the culture of cannabis will always be its own thing, and it will always have to be something that is respected. There is no I'm going to bring in this model and make it work. So Clay started with that from the beginning. And, in the old days when cannabis was illegal, there wasn't a bunch of drug dealers that didn't make money, right? Everyone was in it to make money. The culture of cannabis, as much as people want to say, the culture of cannabis, there's always been an element to it about making money. Always. What about the hippies in the 60s? Well, explain to me why those hippies in the 60s all own mansions now, okay? The cannabis culture, there was always an element of money to it. So Clay is making it right for all of the people that work for him. And I have been alone on car rides with Clay where it's been just me and him, and he has had the chance to make a decision, and no one would know about it except me. And he has always stuck to his guns, and he has always done the right thing. And as his friend, as an employee, and just as a man in general, to be around someone like that is inspiring, and he has inspired everyone that he's worked with like that. And, I've never in my life seen a business build a community around itself like Good Nature has. You hear a lot of talk about that. We want to build a community around our business. Okay, well, that's a great thing to say, but doing it is like a day in and day out thing, being, where you're available all the time. There's no replacement for availability, right? And it's just, the thing that Clay has built here is nothing short of fantastic, and creating meaningful jobs, in the community.
What I want to focus on something, and it's wonderful to hear, the pride and the passion that's coming from you in working for Clay and the company. Got about a minute or so left. You said before that other companies, entities are trying to make cannabis things that you buy in the supermarket, the grocery store, adding it to this, adding it to that. It sounds that that's not the right way to go. Am I hearing that right?
Well, this is the thing. If you want your chips on the grocery store shelf at Loblaws or whatever, pick your supermarket, you have to pay for your groceries to be on that shelf, right? And the guys who open up a big, huge chain of cannabis stores, they think that licensed producers should have to pay to be on their shelves, right? But the best craft producers and the best licensed producers, they're small craft companies. They can't afford to pay you to put your weed in their store. And if your customer is your main focus, then the only prerequisite for having weed at Good Nature is that it's good weed, right? This whole pay to play thing is like the exact thing that is destroying the cannabis market, because those small craft guys, you should be falling all over yourself to have their product in your store and be available to your customers. In order for you to endear yourself to those customers, right? You have the best chronic. But if you're one of these stores where it's only pay to play, you're not getting the best chronic. You're getting the people who are going to pay you the most.
Right. I totally, Mike, I totally see the vision. I've worked in radio since I was a kid, still do.
Yeah.
And pay to play in terms of music, I'm looking at, but it's the same thing we're talking about here. It's back in the day, that's what was going on under the table, where I'm talking, decades ago, where record producers would pay the disc jockey to play a certain song. Doesn't mean it's a good song. Doesn't mean people want to hear it.
Exactly.
And nowadays we have to sign an affidavit saying that we won't do that. And I would never would. It's what people want to hear, and that's based on research. And on the cannabis THC CBD side, you guys have done the research. You know what your customers like, and they support you because of what you stand for. And that also means taking care of the employees. The website is goodnaturecannabis.ca. Mike, great talking with you today. Learned a lot. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it was a super pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.